Hi friends, welcome back to Ray's Creek Cards. I'm pre-recording this video for the Tuesday morning 10 a.m. live just in case our internet goes out. Guys, it has been snowing here. It started last night off and on, and then it's been coming down for most of the day. There was one time here probably about an hour ago, Dillard had to go out and brush off the satellite dish for the TV because we were losing signal. There was that much snow on the dish, and it's already, I'm actually surprised our little antenna dish is not, our internet dish has not needed to be brushed off yet. So hopefully I'm not too late in getting this film, getting it uploaded to release in case I can't do a live with you Tuesday morning. I want to bring you something. Hi guys, and welcome. And this is Ray Henderson, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Morristown, Tennessee. And I am loving all this snow. We never get this much. It's so rare. And I can't remember the last time, if ever, that I've seen it snow pretty much all day. And they had predicted anywhere from 2 inches in some areas all the way up to 6. And I think it's going to be very safe to say that we get 4 to 5. It's still coming down really solid. Doesn't show any sign of letting up. And as I am filming this, it is just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'll see. All right. The star of today's show, and there's 2 of them. Perennial postage with the dies and the sentiments and some embossing folders. I don't know that I have ever made a card that had used 3 embossing folders on one card, but that's exactly what we are going to do today. You're going to want just a regular card base out of regular white, basic white, and 8.5 by 5.5, and scored at 4 1/4. And then you are going to want a piece of basic white that is 4 1/4 by 5.5 to cover the whole front. So I'm going to move this to the side, going to move this to the side, and I have got my pack of Basics 3D embossing folders. You can find these in the online exclusives, and even though I don't use it very often, I'm going to use what I call the bubbles. They're a little bit bigger than what I would call a dot, so this is going to be the first layer on our card. I'm just going to lay my cardstock in there, put it in there straight. Going to get the big boss out. I'm going to emboss this real quick, and then we will emboss layer number 2, layer number 3, and then we'll do a little bit of die cutting. So I've got my postage, my 3D Basics embossing folder. And all you need for that is your gray specialty plate and your platform. Yes, mine's dirty. Didn't really have time to clean it. I knew I couldn't keep waiting. And I've been busy with some other projects today. Card class last Friday went amazingly well. It was so good. We had some new people there, and it was just delightful. So now we have that piece, and I didn't really measure this because we're going to be die cutting this layer after we emboss it. We're going to be die cutting it out of the largest post-it die. And so now let me get my other embossing folder out of the same Basics 3D, and we're going to use the crosshatch one. But I thought this came together. It was so sweet, and it was really quick. I mean, once you get in your card room and get to going. So as you can tell, my cardstock is actually going to go from edge to edge. I'll lose a little bit of it die cutting, but yeah, it's funny because, you know, we don't get snow like y'all do up north, or like wow, why is that not going? What have I done? Nothing. Let me scoop that up in there a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Let me hold on to this and crank it through. It's a good tight fit. I've still got my other machine over to the side here. But I wanted to use this one today. So there we go. There's the crosshatch. I'm going to lay that over here to the side. And then for our third layer, piece of basic white. And this time we are bringing in that beautiful Layered Florals 3D that is in the new mini catalog. And the only ink, we're going to use a little black ink today. And we're also going to use Fresh Freesia. All right, I'm looking at this to see the pattern I'm going to have, and I'm happy with that. Let's bring this back. Put that in there. Let me sketch that over. I don't want it too close to the side. That is a 6-inch embossing folder all the way around. It's a square, obviously. Okay, so here we go. You know, even if you didn't do anything else to this layer, isn't that amazing? I love, love, love it. Oh my goodness. All right, now what I need to do, and get my embossing folders put to the side so I don't need them now. And I'm going to bring out my really ugly magnetic mat with a cutting plate right there. And actually, I do it like this. I have a cutting plate on the bottom and that magnetic piece in the middle, from the middle of one of our older magnetic sheets that Stampin' Up sold, and it worked real bad, so they took it off the market. I do need a top plate to cut with. Here we go. I've got one. I've got it labeled for the bottom, but we're going to use it for the top. Now, on this piece where we did the crosshatch, I do want to take my largest perennial postage die and die cut that. And I'm going to try to move this up a little bit more where you guys can see a little better. And I probably cut my piece a little bit bigger than I needed to. But that way there, I've got plenty of wiggle room, top to bottom, side to side. And I'm not real sure what I did with my other plate. But anyway, here we go. Onward and upward, right? And of course, this is so much easier to die cut than it is to get some of those 3D embossing folders to go through. Okay, so now we have this layer. Lay that there. I'll put back my big die. And honestly, I could actually use that as a frame on another card, and I think I'll do that. And then let's take this one, and we are going to die cut it with the second largest die. And I'm struggling over here trying to get it up. Oh my goodness. All right. And let me make real sure. Oh yeah, I've got plenty of room. So now I'm going to try to position this to where I'm getting the best of the flowers. I just can't get over how pretty this is. I really, really, really hope that they carry this one over. I hope they do. It is just too gorgeous not to. And I think I've got that on there pretty straight. I've angled it a little bit just so it makes it a little easier to go through. And I don't always think to do it, even when I'm here by myself in my card room. But it does help. So it's not gripping the whole long edge as it goes through. And actually I have another frame. That's awesome. We'll see what we can do with that. All right, isn't that pretty? And it really didn't flatten very much out, that 3D embossing. Now, you do have the option to die cut this first and then emboss. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works well for you. We all have our little habits, don't we? All right, now we've got a little bit more die cutting to do before we get done. For the moment, we're gonna go ahead and get started assembling our card. And I'm just gonna take, since I know we're gonna be doing some more die cutting, I'm just gonna roll that in, leave that there, and it'll be ready to go. Okay, so now we have our card base. Got the card base, and we have the bubble embossed. And this time I am gonna go for my Tombow. Because it's so heavily embossed, I like that little bit of thicker glue to really get into a lot of those little valleys. You still don't have to just super duper do it, but you know, getting a little bit across that surface so it grips really well. I'll lay that right there. I'm going to pick it up, make sure I'm good and centered, top to bottom, side to side. That looks really good. And just press that down for just a second, kind of let that start to grab. Okay. Yeah, and it's still really coming down. I have watched big clumps of snow fall from some of the trees where it just built up into such a layer it couldn't hold, excuse me, it couldn't hold on to it anymore. Okay, now we have our crosshatch layer. We're gonna center that right on there. And this was Highland Heather, if I didn't tell you. Now this is not such a heavy pattern, but I'm still gonna put a little extra in there. Just kind of make sure my corners are down. Make sure I didn't miss right there. There we go. I'm going to center this on here. And so, got up Friday morning and my jaw was really sore. And it's like, wow, who hit me? And then I realized on the inside of my, of the left part of my jaw, it felt like I had just bit the poo out of the inside of my jaw, and I thought, what the heck? So I have figured out, with the help of my husband, because he has suffered from it for years, I figured out that it was sinus. When he gets sinus, it goes down into his jaw, but I have never had that happen. So it's been a rough way to go the last couple of days. I did make it to church Sunday, but I didn't make it to a meeting on Saturday. But anyway, it's all good. And I'm so glad I made it Sunday. It made my day. It makes my week. Now, I've got our brayer. Now, remember, when you get ready to use it, put it feet side up. And we're just going to ink it up with the Fresh Freesia ink. And it's kind of hard to see if you've got it all the way inked up or not. But in real life, you can tell because it's such a light colored ink. But I do have it. I'm just going to lay this here. Let me get the flat part of my tweezer. I'm still in camera good. Just going to hold that down as gently as I can, just so it doesn't move. I should have got out a silicone mat. That's what I should have done. And I'm just gently going across. I don't care that it got a little bit right there because there wasn't enough of a raised area just right in there. No big deal. It's all good. Now I'm going to turn it over. Put it feet side down. Got my little soft rag here where I got some ink. I'm going to wipe that up so I don't have that. And let's close this up just for the minute. We'll be getting it back out, but just for the minute. And now we're going to take this and we're going to glue that right on there. And you see how we've already used 3 different embossing folders. And this one is so embossed, I am going to put just a little extra. So here we go. All right, I'm going to put that down. And I'm not quite centered. Am I straight? I hope so. Hope I'm straight. Just kind of hold that for the minute. Okay, it looks pretty good. May not be perfect, but it looks pretty good. And because our dye inks dry so quick, you can absolutely touch it right after you ink it up. No worries. Isn't that pretty? Look what we have so far. How festive. All right, now I have got a scrap of Highland Heather, and we are going to take the smallest, whoops, I'm falling apart here. The smallest, no, we're gonna take, so here's your largest, second largest, third largest rectangle, and then here is this one, which would be your fourth largest rectangle. And I hope I cut that piece big enough. Man, that's looking awfully, ooh, that's close. Oh my goodness. Should have probably gave myself just a little bit more wiggle room. We're gonna die cut. No, we don't want to die cut that piece. No wonder it was so small. We're gonna die cut this piece, but first, I do want to stamp the sentiment, "You mean the world to me," and I want to heat emboss it. So first, we're going to take our powder tool. I love this Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool, y'all know. And we're gonna just tap that on there. And I am bringing in my VersaFine pigment ink. Pigment inks don't dry right away. And so that gives you, and I see a little bit more ink down here I didn't get up, that Fresh Freesia. That's an accident waiting to happen. And I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Up! Clear embossing powder. Get that ready, and over here to the side. And I'm take my VersaFine, and you saw it backwards. You saw it upside down because I store it upside down. I really miss these felt pads. I love these. See how vivid that is? I love it. But when you have tiny, thin lines in a script, you truly will enjoy using that VersaFine. Now, if you were not applying powder and heat embossing, you would have to give that a few minutes. Like if I was to touch it right now, it would smear. It would smear. So I'm going to put my lid on. I'll set this over, way over to the side. I am going to take my clear embossing powder, run over that. There we go. And you can see already it kind of clouded it because we've got that powder. I'm going to do that one more time. Gently tap off the excess. Y'all have heard me preach, don't flick. You just went to all the work and the effort to put the embossing powder on there. You're probably not going to have it clumped on there anywhere except for where the ink is. Now, if you do that, yeah, you need that off, and a slight tap will do that for you. I'm getting my heat tool back here, and going to let that run for just a few seconds. But I hope everybody is safe. Hope everybody is at home, snug and warm. My husband actually did leave for work at 4 o'clock in the morning. At that point, you know, we already had a little bit of a white layer on the ground, and I could see that, I could see the pavement on the road going by the house, and I thought, well, it's not laying on the road, so he's good. But then, as it started to really come down and not let up, I was getting a little bit worried. I was. I mean, not worried, just concerned. I mean, the man knows what he's doing, driving in the snow and the bad roads, and he's got the tires in the truck for it. I don't. There's no way I could go out in this, but anyway, he come home about 10:30, and it's already filled in his tracks and everything in the driveway. So, all right, this should be, and I'm going to try to hold it here so you can see the magic happen. See where it's getting dark and shiny. Isn't it pretty? I love it. Make sure I've got it all. That looks good to me. Awesome. And that's the only heat embossing that I am going to do on here. And we're going to get it good and cool. You don't want to try to die cut or do anything right away until that's good and cooled off. And I'm not feeling any warmth in it. It's nice and cool. There we go. Now we can die cut. So I'm going to get this centered on here. And yeah, this was a pretty big scrap, but you know, sometimes you use what you have. Now let me get that centered, and since I can't stand right over it, let me try to make sure that's going to be on there straight, so when I die cut it, it's straight. And I've got a little bit of used tape here, and I'm going to use, this is crafter's tape. I think I got this from scrapbook.com. At this point, I could bring up the mini me, but I've already got Big Boss ready to go. So we're gonna die cut this out real quick. And then there's only gonna be one more thing to die cut. So got that on there, gonna run that through. Easy peasy. Okay. Let's see how we look. Oops. So there we go. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. Okay. Let me get my die off here. Y'all know how rabid I am about my dies, right? And you know, I can't stand to just lay them down and leave them laying loose. That's how they get lost. And if anybody can lost one, I can, okay? I know me very well. So we're gonna put that back in there. And the other one is going to be this small square. And I'm gonna go ahead and be brave. And I'm gonna die cut before stamping. And you'll see while we're doing this here in a minute. Main camera, move this over. So I've got a scrap here that is way more than I need. And I'm gonna sketch that over. Oops. Sketch it over, and he's so little, I'm not going to worry about angling it. It's good. Okay, and let's get my die back in there. Hopefully kind of neat, kind of straight, pretty looking. Okay. Yeah, I hate to really talk about the snow we're getting, but guys, we're not used to getting this much. I remember growing up, it was not unusual to get, oh, it's coming down even heavier, and huge flakes. Huge, huge, huge. It is so pretty, and there's a little bit more wind because they're flying around a little bit more, because for a few hours there, it was coming down straight, and now that I'm seeing some wind, that tells me that it may be getting ready to push this system out and away. All right, let's take that little square. I already know what I want to put on there, and I didn't have it pre-mounted on a block. I want my big hugs. Here it is. Let me find a block, and I hope it's clean. Kind of, sort of. Okay. And I'm going to take my fresh freesia. Do I want fresh freesia? Yeah, I think I do. I want fresh freesia. Gonna ink that up, and I've got something right there. Can you see that? Like a little hair or something. Honestly, it almost looks like a piece of fiber from my stamping scrub. I don't know what that is. It might be a little piece of plastic. There we go. I got him. Let me put him on my cloth over here. There we go. And we're going to stamp our big hugs. And hopefully it's going to be kind of straight. May end up doing this again if this doesn't come out right. Did that come out? You know what? It's just a little tilted. but I'm okay with it. We're going to let that go. And I'm going to put this to the side for the minute. And then, let me move this. And because there's only one more die cut, is there another die cut? Nope, there is not another die cut. But what I do want to do is take, I need a piece of, I actually need my Highland Heather, and I don't think I have it in here. Let me look. Do I have my Highland Heather? I don't. That's all right. We're going to substitute and use fresh freesia, and we'll just go ahead and do that real quick. I want to take a sponge dauber, because I definitely want to make sure you can see that around the edges. I think the Highland Heather would have looked better, but this is okay too. And I want just enough to kind of come up on the edges and define them. I'm not going like into the cardstock. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that, but that's okay too. All right. Now, let's get ready and layer this. Now, if I can find my little ruler here, let me measure. This piece of Highland Heather is 2.5 in length by 1 3/4 wide, and that is just big enough to make a nice little mat for our sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. While I'm using Tombow, I'll just continue on using the Tombow. There we go. And position that right in the middle. Straight, we hope. We hope, we hope. And is that looking okay? Kind of think this needs to come up just a hair. Does that need to come up? Just a little bit. There we go. So now we have that. And I think I want to raise that up with dimensionals there on the front. And I didn't have any out, but I do have some bones here that I can use. So let's put these bones on here. Looks like I got a little something on the back side. Glad it's on the back side. And I've been cutting into these, so I'm going to use even my little pieces that I had pre-cut for other projects. And let me get my little snips here. Let's see. We're just going to cut some of these. Don't know how many I'll need. I'll lay them in there. I love using my edges, or my dimensional bones, as I like to call them. I love using these. It's really a lot of fun to use those. For me, anyway. There's that. And I feel really strange doing a video that you may or may not see. But if you don't see the pre-recorded, that means I'm able to be with you live in the morning. How awesome is that? It's awesome. Okay, now, usually when I mark my dimensionals with my Sharpie, I don't get into the bones. That's okay. I think if I pay attention, I can get these took off without having to touch them and see if I've removed the backing yet. Just getting a hold of some of those little ones. All right, now stay on there. Don't lift off. That, see, it's wanting to lift off. So I didn't have it pushed down very hard at all. And then that little one. So here we go. Now, let's put this in the middle and hopefully straight as my middle, top and bottom, side to side. Oh, I hope so. Is that good? That's pretty good. And I'm going to take one of my butterflies from the brushed brass butterflies. And I think I want a big one for this. Well, and he's going to be flying in the perimeter. There we go. Put that down. My glue back over there in my shot glass. Okay. I've got to get rid of these. I've already been vacuuming dimensionals up here and there. Now for the inside of the card, what I did is I cut a layer of Highland Heather that is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're just going to glue that in. Once again, I don't really have a sentiment to put on the inside because I don't know who may end up getting this card or what the situation might be. And so, man, I'm going to have to practice more at doing this stuff, at doing this away from me a little bit. I'm losing my edge. I get spoiled when I'm by myself and I can have it, you know, right up close to me. And then there's just a piece of basic white. It's 3 3/4 by 5. I need to change the blade on my trimmer. And I haven't done it yet, but it's really starting to show some of the feathered edges. And of course, you can always just take your fingernail and just kind of gently get rid of those if they're not too bad. And that's not too bad. If you've already glued your cardstock down, one of the little tips and tricks I can give you is to take, like take your pick tool and you can just gently go in one direction and you can get rid of those little wispy things. Looks like I've already got something inside my card base, but I'm just going to leave mine like that. And I'm thinking that's residue of Tombow that was on my fingers, because y'all know I have a love-hate relationship with Tombow. I can't seem to ever use it without leaving traces where traces should not be. Now, before starting to film this, I did do a bow out of the Fresh Freesia ribbon that is in the annual catalog, and I had a couple of blocks sitting on top of it. I don't know about you guys, but when I first do a bow, and it's kind of like bulky and it's bulging in the middle, and I want them to lay a little flatter. So you can do that too. You can like pre-do some bows and just lay them under one big heavy block or a couple of blocks, and it goes a long way into flattening that out. And I was going to put that right about there. Not sure. Let's see, do I want it right there? Am I going to have to raise it up? I don't want it to totally obscure my words, but I also want it to look good. And I think that's okay. Did I get my glue dots out? I did. So here's my glue dots, and let's go ahead, get that ready to put on there. I'm going to take your pick tool again, and let's go ahead and make sure that's going to be hidden right back there. I'm going to put that right up there in that upper left corner of the sentiment mat, just like so. And is that truly hidden? I think it is. So there we go. Now, we're not done yet. The card is done, but now let's do an envelope, and I don't even have one out. So, here we go. I've got one. Now, this that we just did, what we can do is just lay that right there on the envelope. Isn't that cute? Now, obviously, don't do this step if you're going to be mailing it. But if you're going to give it to someone in person, I mean, they are, after all, postage dies, right? Technically, perennial postage. So we can just put that right there in the corner. Yep, there we go. And that's it. That's it for the envelope. And here we go. What do you think, guys? Do you like it? Isn't that pretty? And again, we use the basic white. We didn't use the thick for the card base. You don't need to, because you're going to have a couple of layers on the inside, and you're going to have 3, actually 5 if you count the sentiment and the matte, 5 layers on the front. How pretty is that? 3 embossing folders on 1 card. Awesome, awesome. Guys, until we meet again, y'all stay safe, be blessed, know that you are loved. God is good all the time. Bye.